Hello and welcome to the VR Untethered solo podcast. Brad is unfortunately once again sick. Please keep him in your thoughts and prayers that he recover quickly and be back to grace us with his presence again. Meanwhile, we're going to move on and just talk about my highlights of the week. Excuse me. And as always, a little bit of Echo Arena was a highlight. That's probably going to be a mainstay. I should probably stop mentioning it because it's probably boring to hear the same highlight every week. But anyways, did a little bit more virtual battlegrounds. I actually had a victory in that game for once. It was like 5 people and solos, so I ended up pulling out a win at the very end, and it was cool. And I did some more Tales of Glory. I have finally had a victory in a battle on that. I tried out the new Synth Riders song, which was another electro swing song, and it was pretty fun. It was a nice one, easy one to get in the groove to, and it was fairly well done. There were a few awkward spots in it, but I managed to get through it, and when I was done, I noticed I was number 1 on the leaderboard for it on hard. So if you have Synth Riders, feel free to go try to beat my score. I hope you fail, but I want you to have fun trying. So I also have been checking or doing a lot of Rec Room this past week because I am taking part in the Maker Pen boot camp class, which is a 6-week, I believe, class where the first week is teaching kind of the basics, and Tuesday we learned how to make a door. Thursday we learned how to make a house, and yesterday we worked on making terrain. And then starting next week is when the actual classes are going to start, and we're going to end up in groups, and we're going to have a group project and all that, and we're going to learn how to build together and whatnot. So I am looking forward to that. It's something I wanted to get into for a while, but it's a little bit complicated to just learn on your own. So sometimes, even though that's what I usually do, and I'm fairly good at it, sometimes it is good to have an instructor and to have other people to learn with and collaborate with. So I will make sure that you know about the final project and how I do at the end of the course. So with that said, and with no further ado, I'd like to ask you now, instead of at the end of the show, to like, subscribe, and to comment about anything that you want to comment on. We are trying to grow this channel, and we keep waiting until the very end to ask for like and subscribe. So I'm changing it up today, asking now. I'm not going to be overly pushy, but if you like what we are doing on this channel, hit like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. hit the notification bell so you get notified when we have a new channel. And who knows, at some point in the future, if the stars are aligned perfectly, we might even actually go live. So, back to the regularly scheduled podcast. New releases, we had Ecosphere. That's a conservation awareness promoting app. This is basically it has 3 180-degree videos about various conservation efforts. It's got one that's set in Africa about save the elephants and elephants in general, and 2 others. I forget exactly where they are located, but I think they're more in the Thailandish area over there, Southwest Africa. It's a well done app. It's got a good interface that when you first log in, there's a giant globe in front of you spinning around. You can see the 3 areas where you can go into and watch a video highlighted on the globe, and you can spin the globe manually. And then when you click on an area, it's got a little text blurb to tell you about it. And then over here, it's got a button to click to download it. And that's the downfall there, in my opinion, is the download takes so long. And I've got good internet. I've got a gigabit internet, and like easily 200 or so the download speed has max. It should be more, but it's at least that much. And it took a few minutes, and there is something you can do in there to just keep yourself occupied. There's a little spinning sphere in front of you that has a little miniature scene that relates to what you're about to watch. And the one I watched was the Africa one about the elephants. So it's got a grown-up elephant and a baby elephant and a little hut. And the baby elephant walks around a little bit. It's slowly spinning. You can make it spin faster, and that's all you can do. So that doesn't take up too much of your time. So the rest of the 5-10 minutes or whatever is waiting for the 2 gigabyte file to finish downloading. Because so that's a little bit of a drawback right there. There's a lot of... Do I take my headset off and go have a coffee, or... No? Once it is downloaded, obviously, it's a different story. But, and the video itself was fairly well done. It wasn't exactly stereoscopic, but it was reasonable quality, and it was not, by reasonable, I mean, it was not Felix and Paul quality, but it was reasonable. There were times when you could notice compression artifacts and whatnot, so it's not the greatest quality, but overall, it was fairly well done. It's free, only 3 videos. If you download all the videos, it'll be basically 6 gigabytes of downloading. And all depends on how much replay value you get out of watching and rewatching the same videos over and over. So, even though it's free, I give it kind of a if you're into that and you want to learn more about it, sure, it's good for a one-off thing. Unless they are going to be adding more and more in there, though, or maybe increasing the quality of the video, I don't know about long term. So we also had Myth, a Frozen Tale, come out on Thursday. This is a short animated experience based on the Disney Frozen movies, where you are starting out in a house with an Arendelian family, and something happens, and then you're out in the woods experiencing the four elements and all that. So it's only $2.99. I have not gotten it yet. So your mileage, all that. If you decide to get it and try it out, hey, so leave a comment and let us know what you think. I didn't get it because, from what I've heard, is super short, and $3 even for just a something. I don't know. Part of the reason for me not knowing is completely unrelated to the podcast, but my day job is over for the summer. It'll pick back up again in the fall, but it's over for the summer, so my funds to be wasting on VR stuff has gone down some. So neither here nor there, but that's part of the reason why I've slowed down on trying out new titles. Is I knew this was coming, and I wanted to make sure that I could save up enough money or have enough money available still for the bigger things, like what's coming up in a couple weeks, Phantom Covert Ops. So I want to make sure I can get that. So moving on, we have the Synth Rider and OhShape collaboration, and I'm a little bit fuzzy on all the details of it, but I believe it was mainly that they both introduced the same song into their game at the same time, and I think similar mapping on the song. At least that's the impression that I got from the trailer. It was showing the Synth Riders to gameplay as going to get the orbs right at the same time in the song, where in the OhShape you're doing this pose. So I don't have OhShape anymore because I had decided it was not for me. That's in the past episode if you want to go look it up. But the Synth Riders song, as I mentioned in the highlight, Daylight is a good song. I really liked it. It was easy to get into the groove of it, and I ended up number 1 on the leaderboard on my first try. So it was fun. It was a little bit challenging, but not so challenging that I felt like I was failing. So thumbs up on that. Moving on, we're gonna skip over upcoming titles because I was too busy doing other stuff this week, and I neglected to see if there were any upcoming titles for next week or not. So, and besides this, we keep missing them anyways. So, news. Boeing is using Varjo VR to train astronauts for its Starliner spacecraft. And technically, using the Varjo is using mixed reality, not VR and not AR, but technically mixed reality, because they're in a VR environment of in the command capsule and all that, and in front of them is a control panel with the switches for the manual operation. But there's an actual physical console in front of them as well. So when they reach out and they flip the switch in the headset, they are actually flipping a physical switch. So it adds that actual muscle memory, and I believe that the Varjo headset uses the Ultra Leap, which is what Leap Motion got turned into, and so it's all actual hand tracking. So it's a very cool way to train them on how to actually fly it with the command capsule and all that, while they are still working on the unmanned test flights. So I wish them luck. The more competitors we have in this, the better off commercial space flight will be in general. And it's very, very cool that NASA and Boeing and all these tech companies continue to use VR for training, because it's perfect for that. When you can't get them up into a manned capsule yet, this is like the next best thing. So, speaking of mixed reality, Apple filed a patent for a mixed reality headset that projects images on your eyeballs. Not the first headset or glasses designed to use this approach, but it's cool that they are working on this. This is a potential way to bypass the convergence or divergence accommodation conflict that traditional VR headsets have, which is basically your eyes converge and accommodate, which is changing the shape of the eyes to adjust the focus. Full 3D stereoscopic binocular vision uses both the angle of your eyes inward and outward and the changing focus based on the bending or flattening of the lenses of your eyes to determine depth and to accurately focus and accurately track. In traditional headsets, everything is here and it's always in focus, so you don't need to converge or diverge your eyes, but you still need to accommodate, meaning change the shape of your eyes. So it's a little bit of an unnatural way of doing things. And for some people, it can cause eye strain, it can cause headaches until you get used to it. The Apple method that is in the patent, and so keep in mind this is only a patent, this is not necessarily a confirmation that they are doing this specific method, but it kind of bypasses the whole versions accommodation conflict because it's going to focus directly on your retina so that you can look naturally and it'll be at the right focus. If I remember right, the VR contact, or AR rather, the contact lenses that are being worked on are going to be doing a similar thing. And there was another technology that I read about a while back that was doing his similar thing, also wanting to focus directly on the retina. The problem with that design, if I remember right, was that it had to be calibrated per user because everyone's retinas are just a little bit different, angle because of the shape of the face and everything. And if you look away, it's not gonna necessarily hit on the retina in that design. So how Apple is gonna work around those limitations, I don't know. But again, this is merely a patent, which means we have this idea. We want to make sure no one else steals this idea in case we decide we want to use it. If we don't want to use it, then at some point a patent expires, other people are able to use it. So, and Brad wanted me to make sure to mention when I was talking about this, Star Wars The Next Generation had an episode where there was a VR game that projected images directly onto your retina and used that for mind control. It was turning the crew of the Enterprise basically into mind control zombies. Hopefully Apple is not planning that, but we shall find out. In other news, Sony confirms that PlayStation 5 will have PSVR compatibility. There's no direct word on if there will be a PSVR 2 or not yet, as far as I know, but there is confirmation that they will continue to support VR on the new PlayStation 5, which isn't too surprising, because it's easier to continue to support something that a portion of your audience uses. That's not too difficult a thing. That's just part of building in backward compatibility. So, but it is still good news, and yeah. There are still, however, rumors that they are still going to have a PSVR 2 because of the upgraded cameras and all the patents that we've seen coming out about different headset designs and the index-like controllers. I think at some point there is going to be a PSVR 2. The way of saying it, PSVR 2. I just don't know when. In yet other news, and this is not good news, Twitch has seen a massive DMCA strike attack on, I think, pretty much all of their streamers. DMCA, if you're not familiar with the acronym, is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which I feel has a lot of flaws in it. It doesn't properly balance things, but Twitch has had a massive DMCA strike against a lot of their users, going back 3 years. So Twitch streamers are having to delete videos that were saved, the video on demand from 3 years ago, because some music company out there decided they weren't making enough money anymore because of the no concerts and all that. So they were going to go after all the people that used a 10-second clip that had their song in that clip. Personally, I think that's a misuse of the Copyright Act, because that's not really a copyright violation. They're not making money on the song. They're making money on their stream of the game. They are making money on their just chatting or whatever. They're not making money because they are playing the song and saying, hey, come listen to the song on my channel and let me get the money from it. They're not doing that. It's not taking away from the money-making ability of the copyright holders. So in my opinion, it's not really a fair thing to do. It's not really right. It's not really ethical. It is legal. And I think that legalness needs to be changed, because it's too easy for abuse to happen. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this in our VR Untethered podcast is because there's a lot of Beat Saber streamers on Twitch. And a lot of them use custom songs, which they taken their livelihood into their own hands there because of legality reasons. But they are getting hit by this, and it affects VR in that way. And personally, as I already mentioned, I think there's a lot of flaws in the current system. Because Twitch, YouTube, all these places automatically side on the right, or on the side of the people who file the copyright claim, even if the claim is bogus. Josh Dubb tweeted, and he's the guy that I'm not really a fan of, his humor and whatnot, but he's a very popular YouTuber. He does VR. And he posted that someone did a copyright strike against a video with his song in it, claiming they had the copyright. So, and what does YouTube do? It goes, okay, we're gonna demonetize that video for the video creator. All the revenue generated from ads or whatever is gonna go to the person who did the copyright claim. And that's not right, because that person didn't make the song. Josh Dubb did. And he makes his songs available for anybody to use freely. So, and I've had a similar thing happen to me on my own personal YouTube channel. I've got a couple of songs I made way back when, and I got a copyright strike on one of them. And I was like, wait, how can I have a copyright strike on this? I literally created this song from scratch. I used loops and sounds provided by the DAW that I was using, the digital audio workstation. And I used no copyrighted material in it. So I went and I researched it, and there was a song made by an obscure artist that I had to do a lot of hunting to track down the song. And they used one of the sounds that I used in my song, in their song. Outside of that, it didn't sound anything like my song. They just used one sound that was provided by the software that I used, which means they probably used the same software. And then, did a bot search or whatever. Who knows how they found mine, and they filed a copyright claim. Now, I wasn't running ads on the video, so I wasn't making money from it anyways, but that just goes to show there's a lot of fraudulent copyright claims out there. And automatically siding with the claimant is not the right way to do it. Especially in this instance with Twitch, and people getting like all of a sudden 10 or 20 copyright claims at once. Under normal circumstances, that would be enough to get them permanently demonetized and even banned off of the platform. I believe Twitch is not doing that. I haven't seen anything one way or the other saying that they are or are not, but I would imagine that if they are starting to ban people because of this, that we would be hearing about it. So I'm assuming they are not, that they are doing the right thing and they are working with the creators to help them weather the storm. And that's a good thing on Twitch's part. But they need to revamp the system. And in my opinion, the DMCA law needs to be revisited because it's allowing these abuses. Anyways, enough of that. Let's move on to the next bit of news, which is a rumor that the upcoming game Star Wars Squadrons will support VR. As to what all platforms it will be on, I'm not 100% sure. I just know that if the rumors are right and they appear to be coming from a developer or someone who is in the company making the game, there will be an official Star Wars game in VR, which is always a cool thing. So, next up, Cat VR has now they announced the new Catwalk C personal treadmill. It's a treadmill, which is their business, but it's sized so that it, in theory, can fit inside of most people's homes, and it's a personal size, obviously. And I don't know if there's any pricing on it yet, if it's I'm reading the article here again right now. The very, very short and sparse article. Because there was a preview article link. Okay. Pull up the actual article here. Meanwhile, I think this is promising. I don't know, as mentioned, how much the full cost of it is going to be. But here we are. This says the Catwalk C is a much smaller, refined version of the treadmill. and it's much better suited to fit into the home of VR users. It's also meant to be more affordable, which makes sense. If you want people to adopt it and to buy it and bring it into to their homes, it needs to be more affordable than the full version. Um, so it comes with a pair of shoes that are designed to keep you from slipping on the treadmill, but also have a high level of breathability, which is good so that your feet don't overheat, I guess. And it's going to come with the Cat Gateway, a software program that lets you gain access to the control panel. And that can be accessed from your computer directly or the VR headset. You'll be able to adjust the parameters in a matter of seconds and without leaving the virtual world. Here we go. Yep. It's going to be in a Kickstarter later this month. Specifics are not yet revealed, so we don't know how much it's going to cost yet. But I am excited to see how well it works out. Wait, here we go. It says the early bird pricing for the Catwalk C for the Kickstarter is said to be $699 plus shipping. Finalized retail price will most likely be higher than that. So it's probably not going to be something that I will get because I can't really justify that. Even though it would help, it would be nice. I also don't know yet how well the Cat VR type of thing would work with the Quest or with gaming or Shadow, because transferring high-speed USB input so that way is a little bit more tricky than just the VR streaming. And I tried passing through my new webcam to Shadow, and it didn't really work too well. It was a little bit choppy. So if it's choppy for that, something that's absolutely essential that'll be spot on the timing, like you said, the Catwalk VR, is going to be even more tricky. So it would be for having a local VR ready PC rather than a Shadow at this point, unless the technology for Shadow improves, and I know they are working on that all the time, making it better. So anyways, Snapchat Partner Summit uses a green screen powered AR background for the presenter. Fast Company, I believe, is where I saw this, and they were basically saying Steve Jobs was famous for his iconic presentation style, minimal black background, and heavily scripted. And Snapchat is standing out by doing their own thing, focusing on an AR background, using a green screen where the presenter appeared to be on Venice Beach, and it was all art and bright, and so good for them that they are doing their own thing and making themselves stand out. That's always a good thing, is to stand out if you want to compete. So and on to our last two bits of news. Cannes VR, or Cannes XR, is hosting over 55 new works, including original VR program from canceled Tribeca Film Festival. And one of the places you'll be able to see all of their exhibits, all of the films and the VR stuff, is in the Museum of Other Realities, which is available on Steam and in Viveport. which is a VR space for looking at VR art. Some of which is interactive, some of which is not interactive. And it's a cool application, a cool way of exploring art. So it's very cool. The article here says that they are excited about being able to reach a different audience than they normally would, because for a lot of people, traveling to something like this is prohibitive because it's too far, it's too expensive, etc. So the virtual space allows us to touch another community that usually doesn't come to Cannes because it's too expensive or too far. So, and now you and I will be able to attend and see what they got. The program is developed in partnership with the Tribeca Film Festival, presenting selections from its canceled 2020 program, including 6 premieres, VR, and Positron, presenting 360-degree pieces, and Kaleidoscope, partnering with Cannes to promote work in development. So, it says about the Museum of Other Realities that it will provide its entire virtual art gallery. So, I know I will probably check this out at least a little bit, see some of the stuff that they have. All VR content will be available through the Museum of Other Realities. Access is free of charge. It will run from June 24th to the 26th, and then it will be on replay until July 3rd. The conferences will be streamed via the Marché du Film's website. Access the Museum of Other Realities via Steam, obviously, and if you don't have a VR headset, you can access it in 2D as well. And yeah, it's very cool that at least some things, when they move to a virtual way of doing it, are actually going to a virtual reality way of doing it, and not misusing the term virtual reality. As another article that came up while I was researching and doing show prep for this did. It said virtual reality, blah blah blah, and I read the article, and there was nothing virtual, and it's just Facebook Live videos. So that's not quite virtual reality. It is virtual, but it's not VR. So our last bit of news has actually made the news, even though it started out as a tweet thread from Danny Bittman. So Danny Bittman, as we have mentioned on the show before, is a VR artist, and he is the main artist for the app Color Space, which is a very good coloring book app for the Quest and the Rift. It is immersive, it is very well done, it is whimsical. My only issue with any of the scenes that you can color in it are they're short. But outside of that, it's very well done. Anyways, he posted a series of tweets about how he has developed an eye problem. And according to his eye doctor, it was caused by his VR use, because he used VR for like 6 hours a day for the past 5 years or whatever, going in 30-minute intervals and whatnot, but overall 6 hours a day. And he described it as he's got what's called convergence excess, which makes it hard for him to focus on things, and his eyes twitch and move around and jump around some, and it's very exhausting and makes things hard, which I can understand. And this made it into a BBC article, probably a couple other articles as well. The BBC article says, a software developer has tweeted about how wearing a VR headset for hours a day has damaged his eyesight. Glasses should correct the issue, but would normally only be prescribed to 40-year-olds, according to his doctor. Then the article says the Association of Optometrists said it has not seen evidence that VR headsets could cause permanent eye damage. Facebook-owned Oculus has a section in its handbook, evidently, that one person out of 4,000 may suffer dizziness, seizures, eye or muscle twitching. If you have those symptoms, discontinue using the headset to see a doctor. To me, that sounds like a legal disclaimer, not necessarily that they've encountered that in their testing. So, doctors have previously warned that VR can cause eye strain because the brain is forced to process the visual stimuli in a different way than normal. As I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, the divergence accommodation conflict. Our eyes change the focus by pulling and contracting on muscles and changing the shape of our eyes so that we can we have near far focus, and we also do convergence and divergence. Regular VR headsets only use this and not the divergence. So, and that can cause eye strain periodically if you are not used to it, and requiring taking a break. So Danny described the problem as his eyes jump when he reads things like a screen of books. And then here's the telling part. He says, I've always had a small level of this, but it's greatly intensified now, and it's also linked to headaches and vertigo. So I went and I researched what he described and found the label that he gave it, because he later came out with a series of more detailed tweets saying that he had something that was basically a form of strabismus, or eye crossing issues, and he had been undiagnosed with that, and he had that since he was a kid. He didn't know what it was. He had never had it officially diagnosed. Also, when he discovered this issue with his eyes recently, he hadn't been to the eye doctor for 3 years for an eye exam. So, to me, while I feel bad for him and I wish him luck in the corrective lenses and the exercise that he has to try and get better and not have this problem anymore, this sounds like a pre-existing condition, that got worse, because his condition leads to convergence or divergence excess. It's one of the known things of that condition. And the condition itself causes issues with up close focus. So if you're doing too much up close focusing, could it make something like that worse? Probably. So, and because he was undiagnosed and not properly training his eyes to correct that, and then jumped into to VR and was doing that, you know, I can see how that would make things worse, because he's doing all the things he shouldn't do because of the issue that he had. However, where I see this going is we're going to start seeing more and more articles about VR is bad for your eyes. No, it's not. This is an isolated case. This does not mean VR itself is bad for your eyes. This exact technology of separating versions from accommodation is actually used therapeutically to strengthen eyes. You know, if you have lazy eye, this very thing is used to help correct lazy eye. So it's not inherently bad for your eyes. Also, the article on the BBC website did go on, after its attention-getting headline, it did go on to say that I'm not sure if it's Carrie or Sari Smith James from the Association of Optometrists told the BBC, "We currently do not have any reliable evidence that VR headsets cause permanent deterioration in eyesight in children or adults. There have been some studies looking into the effects of short-term use of VR headsets only. These did not reveal a deterioration in eyesight. However, some people do suffer from temporary symptoms such as nausea, dry, irritable eyes, headache, or eye strain." But she did have some advice, which is not necessarily bad advice. If you spend all day in VR without a break, you will need time to readjust to the light and the different visual environments of the real world. It's just like if you spend all day in a book. It's just like if you spend all day looking at a computer screen. I would suggest taking a 5 to 10 minute break each hour, using that time to move about, blink, look out a window, or take a short walk. That's not necessarily bad advice. That's a good thing. What I personally do, honestly, and I do it kind of naturally, is if I'm in a waiting point in the game, I kind of just let my eyes defocus and diverge some, and then I bring it back into focus. Or I just close my eyes and I just rest them for a little bit that way. If I've got a long loading screen, I'll do that. It's just something I do. So maybe I'm just automatically taking care of my eyes. I don't know. And the number of hours of headset use a person can comfortably tolerate, again according to the Association of Optometrists representative, will vary depending on your binocular vision status and the task you are doing in VR. And then at the end of the article, they point out that VR headsets have been used to help improve eyesight. There's a startup named Give Vision that created a device called Sight Plus that aims to help people whose eyesight has deteriorated beyond repair by projecting a video of the real world into the working part of the retina. Remember what I was saying earlier about Apple not being the first one to use a direct projection on the retina? Here's a technology doing just that. Because, here's your retina. If this spot is working right here, they can project onto that one spot right there, and you have vision. You know, so a clinical trial at Moorfields Eye Hospital suggested it improved eyesight in 59 of the 60 participants, with nearly half saying they would wear the device for watching TV, reading, or going to the theater. The firm is partnering with Sony to develop its next device. So it did end on a more rational, some positive note, but I just wanted to bring this up because this is news that is making the rounds on Twitter and on the regular news websites also. And I just wanted to bring in some rational stuff here. It's very not good what happened to Danny's eyes. Nobody wants that, no. But he is getting corrective lenses, which will fix the problem. And this, as far as I can tell, is most likely an isolated incident caused purely by he had an undiagnosed condition that just happened to be exacerbated by that constant near focus. He could have been nose deep in a book all day long. 6 hours a day reading and looking books, or being a jeweler is maybe, or working on miniatures, and working this close with extremely fine details. I'm sure that would have exacerbated it also and made it worse. So just keep in mind, it's not VR. It's the eye problem that he had, and bad set of coincidences or whatever, that made it get exacerbated. But again, if you agree with me or disagree with me, feel free to let me know in the comments. We can discuss that. If you have tips and tricks on how you prevent or relieve eye strain in VR, so go ahead and leave it in the comments. Personally, I don't generally have any, but as I said, if I'm got a long loading screen, like when I'm playing virtual battlegrounds, the initial loading screen feels like it's a 1 minute long loading screen. So I do a lot of just going with my eyes closed and just waiting. But again, everybody is different. This is not a reason to be afraid of VR, even though I'm sure some websites out there are going to peddle it as yet another reason why VR is or should be dead, or why it's bad, or so take it with a grain of salt. Remember, he had a pre-existing condition that got worse. Was the specific near focus part of it? Most likely, yeah. But again, that could have been any number of near focus activities. So, anyways, on that note, signing off. See you next time. Remember to like, subscribe, click that notification button, and tell your friends repeatedly that they need to subscribe to us. Bye. Have a great rest of your week.